I want to take you back to, there was a funeral in Ukambani. I cannot remember exactly whose, but I know the president was present, and he told the public that the reason why he had the handshake is so that he could be able to build Kenya and not focus on going around, like campaigning or something. But today, I mean, in Gatanga, you listen to Raila Odinga. He said, today I'm here, and I'm basically was saying I'm launching my campaign here in Gatanga, and from here next week you're going to be in Western Kenya, his words, and thereafter we are going to go to the coast and so on. So you can see they are now trying to play catch up, which is quite amusing. Okay. The bottom-up economic model is not new in Kenya. It is something that has been championed in India at the moment, even by the current head of state there. It is something that Joe Biden is championing in the US, and it is something that the world has seen, that the previous economic model that existed was that the big companies would be supported through incentives, through tax breaks, through maybe being told that you can invest here, we'll provide free land to you, and so on. It was intended that if those big companies grow, then they pay taxes, and then they employ people, so that is what it means trickling down. But it has been found that it hasn't worked in several countries. So this is tested and tried. When we talk about a bottom-up economic model, is to say, support the bigger base, which is huge, and the majority of Kenyans. Like we said, there are 16 million Kenyans who are in the informal sector. If they are supported, in order for them to grow, then actually you're widening your tax base, but you're also improving lives, and ultimately those people will have purchasing power and disposable income. Then they can be able, like when you see some companies like the mobile companies, they are making money. If you look that they even lend 50 shillings to the ordinary citizen, all their money is actually made from the bottom. But it takes so long, all the billions they make does not trickle down to the lower level. It does, and therefore, if we begin to actually give incentive at the bottom, and let me explain it even much simpler. Think of it, when you talk to anyone, and you go to any market, and you talk to one of the women there, the gentlemen there, and ask them, what would you like? They say, I usually buy stock for 1,000 shillings. If I had an extra 5,000 shillings, I would increase my stock and therefore make my sales. Others will tell you at the market that if I had a few extra shillings, then I would, maybe we would have cold rooms in the market. Then that way we don't have losses of food going bad and so on. Everyone wants to improve themselves. If you listen, you talk to a boda rider, they say, if I had an extra boda, or if we had our own repair shop, then we'd earn more income, and that income goes to the family, and then it means, so everybody, talk to anyone, even yourself. I'm sure you think, all the time you think, apart from my job, what would I like to do? Would I like to put some money in the stock exchange? Would I like to save money in my SACCO, and so on? Right. Everyone wants to be able, whatever type of business they're in, they would like to be able to improve it. So I think if you see the youth fund has been an epic failure. If you look at some of the funds that have been set up, they are so formalized that you find that not everyone can access it. The majority of people cannot access it. It's a very small number of people. Even in Western Gishu, the Affirmative Action Fund, it's very small, but also the challenge is there are certain people who don't even know that it exists. There are people who even getting to fill the million forms and so on. So there has to be a more informalized method of ensuring that people have resources to improve their enterprise. And if we also tell ourselves, let's just start even from our farmers. If you support our smallholder farmers, then you can spur economic growth in the country, because our GDP is largely dependent on farming, but we have ignored it. So it's beginning to sort of focusing on the big companies. We know that when there were mergers of banks, recently, they got 300 million shillings written off their tax. Can you imagine that? And yet they already have money. Can you imagine if we had that 300 million shillings going to the informal sector for them to improve their trade? Right. That would change their lives. I think it's important, Jeff. I want you to bring your attention that yesterday at 9:17, the official White House Twitter page of President Biden tweeted this. He said, trickle-down economics has never worked. But when working families do well, everyone does well.
Yes.
That's why the economy we are building is all about. And the previous tweet, he had said he's coming up with a bottom-up economic model.
Okay.
Yes, and he said, in fact, he says bottom-up economic model and middle-out.
Okay.
And one more thing I'd like to say, even as they attack the bottom-up economic model, let them stop the attack. Can they give us their economic model?
Okay.
Because they have not given us their economic model up to this day. They are so bent, or if ours is bad, then please bring one on the table. Okay. Then Kenyans can compare the two.
Okay.
Let them bring their economic model. No, I think if you look at most of the budgets of the counties, a majority of their amount, a big percentage, goes to paying wages, actually, and other administrative costs. Then very little goes to that agriculture and the hospitals as they're supposed to be.
Is it an appropriation issue or a mismanagement?
And that's why we said, when you talk about the bottom-up economic model, I think Dr. Khalwale, he has put it very well. But again, as you can listen, it's very multi-pronged. So it's not that apart from, there is the investment aspect to the ground.
Yes.
There is also changes of policies. There's changes in laws, in order to allow this to happen. So a lot of it has to do with completely relooking at the way we run affairs in the country. And just like he gave the example of the sugar in his region, I'll give an example of Uasin Gishu County.
Yes.
We have the Rift Valley Textiles Limited, which has been Rivertex, which has been heavily funded by government. They have state-of-the-art machines. They are producing amazing fabric made in Kenya. That's great. But where are they getting the cotton from? They're importing it. So the only person who's making money from that investment into Rivertex is the tender, whoever is getting the tender to supply the cotton. There is no, and then maybe whoever supplied the machines. That money has not gone at all to anyone,
No.
even though we have the factory in Uasin Gishu.
Right.
What we are saying is now go and inject money for farmers to grow cotton.
Exactly.
Then Rivertex will buy the cotton from the farmer. Then now the people at the bottom. If you have 2 acres, let's make sure you have resources. And in other, I think they did it in Malawi when Mutharika went to the farmers and said, if you have an acre of land, I'll make sure you have seed and fertilizer worth that 1 acre, and you plant. And the farmers worked hard and planted. And within 2 years, they moved from a food deficient country to a food surplus country, just by supporting the farmers to grow. Because right now the farmers have the land, but they cannot plant any crop because they don't have the resources to do that. Because we are not investing in ensuring that they have the capacity to be able to grow those crops. So for me, that's a simple, just imagine if we got the whole of the coastal region or any other region that is able to grow cotton. You'll be surprised what will happen. And even Rivertex itself will make more money because they will be selling at a cheaper, they'll be able to sell cheaper fabric, not because right now it's expensive because all the cotton is imported.
Okay.
Yes, I think just on the issue about what Raphael Tuju was supposed to have done, he was supposed to ensure that the Jubilee Manifesto was actually implemented by the executive. But he still would not have had any link with Parliament. His only link with Parliament would have been if he called for a parliamentary group meeting. And as you know, Jubilee is on record to have had only 3 parliamentary group meetings in which only the president spoke. It was a monologue. And that's why we have a challenge at the moment.